Only rare chosen ones feel these 7 energetic shifts. There's a rare kind of person walking this earth, someone who doesn't quite fit in, not because they're strange, but because they're tuned to a different frequency. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've felt it your whole life but couldn't quite name it, a sense that you're here for something more, something deeper. You look around and wonder why others seem satisfied with surface-level conversations, empty routines, and repetitive lives. Meanwhile, you crave truth, depth, meaning. You sense energy before words. You feel people's emotions before they even speak. You walk into places and immediately know if something is off. You're not imagining it. You're not broken. You're one of the rare ones. And that means you're beginning to feel the 7 energetic shifts that only the chosen ones ever experience. This isn't about ego or elitism. It's not about being better than others. It's about being called, chosen not by man, but by something higher, something ancient. And the calling doesn't come with a letter or a ceremony. It comes in the form of pressure. It comes as a deep inner restlessness. It comes as a question you can't stop asking. Why am I really here? That question doesn't haunt the masses, but it haunts you. And the moment that question becomes louder than your distractions, that's when the energetic shifts begin.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first shift is the disruption of your comfort. Suddenly, the things that used to satisfy you just don't. Your favorite music feels hollow. Your old friends feel distant. The places you used to go now feel energetically dense. You can't explain it, but your soul knows. Something inside you is no longer aligned with your past. That discomfort isn't a sign that you're failing, it's a sign that you're evolving. This energetic divergence is the universe's way of pulling you out of the simulation. It's the first invitation to rise. Most people ignore it, but you can't. Because once your soul starts awakening, the old version of you becomes impossible to maintain. Then comes the second shift. Hypersensitivity to energy. You feel everything, people's pain, the weight of collective emotion, the energy behind their words. Crowded rooms can feel like a battlefield. Loud noises become unbearable. Even digital energy, texts, social media, screens can feel draining. Most people call this anxiety, but what if it's actually awareness? What if your nervous system is evolving to perceive more? Because that's what happens when you're being prepared to carry light. You must first become sensitive to the dark. That sensitivity is not a weakness, it's training. You're learning how to read energy fluently without needing proof, because the chosen don't operate by logic, they operate by resonance. The third shift is emotional purging. Old trauma rises to the surface, childhood memories resurface. You start crying for no reason. You feel like you're grieving, but you don't know what you're losing. That's because you're not just releasing your own pain, you're releasing the density of generations, of karmic patterns, of ancestral wounds. Let that sink in. You're not just healing for yourself, you're healing for everyone who came before you. That's what makes you rare. Most people numb out when pain shows up, but you sit in it, you feel it, you let it move through, and because of that, you become a portal for transmutation. The fourth shift comes quietly but changes everything. You begin to hear the voice. Not the voice of fear, not the voice of your inner critic, but something else. Something calm, steady, timeless. It speaks in knowing, in sudden clarity, in intuition that doesn't make sense but feels like truth. That voice is the one you were born with. It's the voice of your higher self. And when it starts to lead, your life begins to shape itself around alignment instead of expectation. You stop chasing, you start receiving, you stop forcing, you start flowing. But to follow that voice, you must silence the noise. You must learn to trust yourself in a world that taught you to doubt everything. And then the shift that changes the game. Synchronicity overload. Numbers repeat. People show up at the perfect moment. Books fall off shelves that contain the answers you've been seeking. You think of someone and they call. You dream of something and it happens. The universe is no longer distant. It becomes interactive, real, responsive. That's because you're not just living in the matrix anymore. You're co-creating with the field of consciousness itself. And this is where it gets deep. Synchronicity is not just a sign you're on the right path. It's a language. It's how the divine speaks to those who are finally listening. But with all of this comes the sixth shift, the collapse of identity. You begin to question everything. Who am I really? What do I believe? What is mine and what was programmed into me? You shed labels, careers, roles, even relationships. You begin to unlearn everything you thought you needed to be. It's terrifying. It feels like death. But in that space of uncertainty, your truth finally has room to emerge. You're not here to fit into the world. You're here to redefine it. That's why your old self had to die, because your true self is too big to live in that costume. And finally, the seventh shift, the one that seals your initiation, you start to remember. Not mentally, not through books, through your being. You remember your connection to something vast. You remember dreams that feel like past lives. You remember sacred knowledge you've never studied. You begin to feel that maybe, just maybe, you've done this before. And that's because you have. You're not new, you're ancient. And you didn't come here to play small. You came here to bring light into the forgetting, to remind the world of what it's lost. And that remembering, that deep cellular soul knowing, is what activates your mission. So now I ask you, which of these shifts have you felt? Which ones are you resisting? And what would happen if you stopped running from them and surrendered instead? You're not here by accident. You're here because your soul chose to awaken. And once you feel these energetic shifts, you cannot go back to sleep. You can only go deeper when the energy rewrites you, the invisible forces behind the spiritual transformation. Something deep within you begins to change. Not just your thoughts, not just your emotions, but the very structure of your being. It's as if your energetic code is being rewritten by something unseen, something ancient, something intelligent. And the strange part is, no one around you may notice. On the outside, your life might look the same, but inside, you feel the tectonic plates of your soul shifting. You wake up and realize you're not the same person you were yesterday. And the truth is, you're not supposed to be. Because once these rare energetic shifts begin weaving through your reality, you're not just transforming, you're being rebuilt. This transformation isn't something you can control. It's not a checklist. It doesn't follow a timeline. It arrives like a storm that clears the land, like fire that purifies the forest. It burns away everything that isn't you. And that's when you begin to feel the real work of energy, not as a concept, but as a force. It moves through your relationships. It rearranges your priorities. It eliminates what no longer matches your frequency, and if you resist it, it hurts more. Because this energy doesn't negotiate with the ego. It doesn't care about your plans. It cares about your alignment. You may notice your body reacting to this transformation. Fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, sudden bursts of energy followed by deep stillness, food cravings that make no sense, a heightened sensitivity to light, sound, even the emotions of others. You're not sick. You're being recalibrated. Your nervous system is adapting to a higher bandwidth of frequency. You're being wired to perceive more, not just with your senses, but with your soul. And as your perception expands, so does your responsibility. You can no longer pretend not to feel what you feel. You can no longer lie to yourself for the sake of convenience, because your energy becomes your compass and it never lies. What's even more profound is how the world begins to reflect this change back to you. People around you start to behave differently. Some drift away without explanation. Others are drawn to you like magnets, feeling something in you they can't explain. That's because your field is changing. You're emitting a signal, whether you speak or not. And the signal says, I have remembered something sacred. I am no longer playing by the rules of fear. That kind of energy, rare, authentic, free, is disruptive. It shakes up illusions. It brings light to the shadows. And not everyone will be ready for that. But you must be. Because now you realize something powerful. This transformation wasn't meant to make you more comfortable. It was meant to make you clear. Clear in who you are, clear in what you stand for, clear in the frequency you're here to hold. And that clarity becomes your protection. You stop explaining yourself. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop watering yourself down for people who haven't yet chosen to rise. And in that space, something incredible happens. You begin to attract your soul tribe, the ones who see you, the ones who speak the same unspoken language, the ones who don't just understand the journey, but are walking it too. But even more than that, you begin to attract purpose. Not just a job, not just a title, a sense of inner direction that guides your every move. You start to feel that your life is no longer random, that every step has been orchestrated to bring you to this moment. And from this moment, you begin to live differently, with intention, with integrity, with a kind of quiet power that doesn't need to shout. You no longer chase things, you magnetize them. Because your energy, the very thing that once made you feel isolated, is now the bridge between you and the life that matches your truth. Still, this path is not without its challenges. There will be moments when you feel lost, moments when the old world tries to pull you back, moments when you doubt if any of this is real. And in those moments, you must remember, the invisible forces guiding you are not random. They are ancient, they are wise, and they chose you, not because you were ready, but because you were willing. Willing to feel, willing to lose what wasn't real, willing to become a vessel for something much greater than yourself. So ask yourself now, are you willing to let go of the version of you that was built by fear so that the version of you born from truth can rise? Are you brave enough to trust what you feel even when no one else understands it? Because if you are, the energy will continue to guide you. It will continue to strip away what you're not until only what is real remains. And what is real cannot be shaken. It cannot be taken. It cannot be silenced. You are not just changing. You are remembering. And this remembrance is the gateway to everything you were born to become. Walking between worlds, how rare souls navigate the earth while holding cosmic frequency. There is a strange paradox that begins to unfold once the energetic shifts settle into your system. Not settle as in calm down, but as in take root. You become someone who lives in two worlds at once. One foot planted on the ground, paying bills, navigating conversations, showing up in a world that often runs on autopilot. The other foot in the cosmos, tuned into frequencies, messages, and energies that most people don't even know exist. You're not escaping one world for the other, you're merging them. And that's the sacred work only rare souls are assigned, to walk between dimensions and bring the unseen. This walk is not easy, because the more connected you become to the higher realms, the more the earthly realm can feel dense, heavy, even absurd. You begin to see through the illusions, how much of society is built on fear, comparison, and distraction. You watch people chase things you know will never satisfy them. You hear conversations and feel the hollowness behind the words. And it breaks your heart, because you remember what it's like to be asleep too. You remember what it's like to believe the noise, to chase approval, to perform for belonging, but now you've awakened, and you can't unsee what you've seen. Still, your task isn't to judge the world, it's to love it. Not with a naive kind of love, but with a fierce, grounded compassion, because the rarest souls know how to hold contrast. They can see the darkness and still choose to be light. They can witness the pain and still bring healing. They don't escape the world, they transform it, moment by moment, through the frequency they carry. That's why your energy matters more than anything. It's not about preaching, it's about presence. It's about showing people what's possible simply through how you live, how you speak, how you are. And yet, this dual existence can feel isolating. You may find yourself drifting away from old friendships, not because of drama, but because of vibration. You may struggle to explain what you're experiencing because there aren't always words for it. You may feel like an alien in your own life, like you're speaking a language no one else understands. That's not a flaw, it's a sign. A sign that you're tuned into a reality most are not ready to perceive. But don't let that loneliness harden you. Let it refine you. Let it deepen your connection to your own soul, because here's the truth. You're not supposed to fully fit in. You're not here to blend, you're here to bridge, to be a translator between the physical and the etheric, to take divine insight and ground it into practical wisdom, to take cosmic love and express it through human kindness. This is the art of the chosen ones. Not to escape the world, but to elevate it. Sometimes that looks like healing. Sometimes that looks like leading. Sometimes it's simply holding the frequency of peace in a chaotic room. You don't always need to do more. Often your being is the medicine. But how do you stay grounded when you're feeling so much? How do you walk this earth while carrying the stars in your chest? You anchor. You create rituals that remind you of your body, your breath, your presence. You eat foods that nourish your vessel. You spend time with the earth, bare feet, open sky, natural light. You give yourself permission to rest. You don't need to be high vibe all the time. You need to be authentic. And authenticity includes quiet moments, tears, confusion, stillness. The soul doesn't rush, it expands in silence. You also learn discernment. Not everything that sparkles is truth. Not every teacher is aligned. Not every spiritual idea is your path. The more sensitive you become, the more you must refine your filters. What resonates? What contracts you? What expands you? Your body knows. Your energy knows. trust it. You are your own oracle. And that's the mastery of walking between worlds. You stop outsourcing your knowing. You stop seeking authority outside yourself. You realize that the same divine intelligence that governs the stars is pulsing through your own heart. And still, even as you walk this path with grace, there will be days you question everything. Days when it feels like too much. Days when you wonder if you're crazy or if any of this is even real. And those are the most critical moments, not because you're failing, but because you're shedding. Doubt isn't the enemy, it's the doorway. Every time you question, you're being invited to choose your truth again, not because someone told you, but because you feel it. That's how your frequency gets forged, not in certainty, but in devotion. So let me ask you, are you willing to keep walking even when no one else understands the terrain you're on? Are you willing to be the one who holds the light even when the world tries to dim it? Are you ready to live not just in one world, but in two, and become the bridge between them? You are not here to escape. You are here to embody. And your embodiment is the portal through which new worlds will be born. The sacred burden of remembering. Why the chosen carry both light and weight. There's a weight that comes with waking up. Not just the weight of knowing more, but the weight of feeling more, of remembering who you are in a world that has forgotten, of carrying a sacred light in a place that has normalized darkness. And while we often speak of awakening as if it's a moment of bliss, and yes, there is ecstasy in it, what we rarely mention is the burden that follows, the responsibility, the invisible pressure. The heaviness in the heart that comes from seeing clearly in a world that prefers blindness, because once you remember your soul's truth, you can never go back. You can't unsee the illusions. You can't pretend that small talk is enough. You can't force yourself into spaces or relationships that dishonor your frequency. You begin to feel the dissonance between your energy and the world around you. And that dissonance creates a kind of ache, a longing, not for escape, but for home, for that place where your soul is fully seen, where your light is not only accepted, but understood. And until that place is found, you carry it within you, quietly, gracefully, like a fire in the bones. This is the sacred burden of the chosen ones. To remember who we are in a world that forgot, to feel the suffering of others even when they don't feel it themselves, to hear the silent cries behind people's smiles, to sense the grief woven into the fabric of society, and yet to still choose to show up, still choose to love, still choose to soften when life wants to make us hard. That is not weakness. That is warriorship. That is the spiritual path in its rawest, most unfiltered form. And with this awareness comes another layer of responsibility. You realize that your presence affects the field, that your thoughts, your words, your energy, all ripple out into the collective. You can no longer afford to live unconsciously. You can no longer entertain what drains you. You begin to curate your life like sacred ground. Every choice becomes a prayer. Every action becomes a transmission. You are no longer just living for yourself. You are holding a frequency for the many. And that kind of leadership doesn't come with followers. It comes with integrity. But here's the paradox. Even as this burden deepens, so does your capacity to carry it. Because what you realize is that you were made for this. Your soul didn't accidentally incarnate into chaos. It came here on purpose, to be a stabilizing force, a lighthouse, a reminder. And every time you choose truth over comfort, Every time you choose presence over performance, every time you choose love over fear, you fulfill that purpose. Not through grand gestures, but through the quiet strength of your being. Still, it's okay to feel tired. It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to doubt. This path was never meant to be walked in perfection. It was meant to be walked in honesty. The chosen ones are not flawless. They are real, and their power comes not from pretending to have it all together, but from being willing to be vulnerable in the face of the unknown. That vulnerability is what opens the heart, and an open heart is the most powerful tool on the planet. It heals without trying. It teaches without speaking. It leads without leading. So how do we carry the light without letting it consume us? We remember. We remember to rest. We remember to laugh. We remember to connect with others who carry similar frequencies. We stop trying to do it all alone, because though the path may be rare, we are not the only ones walking it. There are others, scattered across the earth, holding the same codes, feeling the same shifts. And when we find each other, something awakens, a field of resonance, a remembrance of why we came. And we came not to escape the world, but to transform it, not to transcend the body, but to embody the divine within it, to bring heaven into earth, spirit into matter, light into shadow. That is the true work of the chosen, not to be worshipped, not to be followed, but to become living evidence that awakening is possible, that love is real, that truth can still rise in a world built on lies. So I ask you now, as this transmission comes to a close, not in conclusion but in continuation, can you carry the light without closing your heart? Can you hold the weight of the world without letting it harden you? Can you walk with both fire and softness? Because that is what this time asks of us. To be both fierce and gentle, to be both grounded and cosmic, to be both human and divine. You are not broken, you are not lost, you are not too sensitive, you are not too much. You are remembering, and the weight you feel is not a punishment, it's proof that your soul is awake. It's proof that you were chosen not to escape the darkness, but to illuminate it. Now go. Walk your path, not perfectly, but powerfully. Walk it with grace, walk it with truth, walk it with love. And never forget, the light you carry is not just for you, it's for all of us still waiting to remember.